All right, so tonight we are diving into the mysterious world of a creature that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a fantasy novel.
Yeah, right.
A semi-aquatic nocturnal carnivore.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that just sounds so cool, right? We're talking about the Sierra Leone River shrew
Yes.
and this little guy.
It is little.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
for sure.
It's found only in a very specific region in West Africa, very particular. And it really highlights how precious and unique some of these species truly are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're endemic to that region, which means,
Mimic, yeah.
yeah, meaning they're found nowhere else on Earth.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes this, this whole deep dive into the Sierra Leone River shrew
Hmm.
so important, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's about understanding not just this unique species, but also its role in the ecosystem and, sadly, the threats that it faces.
Exactly.
So maybe let's start with what makes this shrew so unique.
Okay.
It's described as semi-aquatic, which already is like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But then I was reading, and it's actually part of the mongoose family,
This family, yeah.
which I'll be honest, when I picture a mongoose, I don't picture this.
No, not at all.
So help me out here.
Yeah, so, the Sierra Leone River shrew, it's adapted to both land and water, right? So it makes its home, like, along the riverbanks and the forests and the marshlands of Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia.
Okay.
And you're right, it is part of that mongoose family,
Right.
which, you think about a mongoose, you don't necessarily think about water.
No, really.
But, evolution is a funny thing, right?
It is. It is.
And so this little shrew has evolved this very specific set of characteristics that make it perfectly suited to this environment.
So how did it end up with this, unique mix of traits? What's the evolutionary advantage here?
Well, think about where it lives, right? The riverbanks.
Mm-hmm.
They are absolutely teeming with insects and amphibians.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Especially at night.
Oh, right.
So being nocturnal, that allows the shrew to avoid all that competition with other predators that are active during the day.
So it's like they have their own little shift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a midnight buffet.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and not only does it avoid the competition, it also taps into a food source that's just plentiful under the cover of darkness.
Makes sense.
And plus, the shrew has these very sensitive whiskers.
Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures.
They help it navigate and detect prey in the dark.
Oh, wow. So it's like a little radar system almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So it's really well adapted to that nocturnal lifestyle.
Wow, I never thought about how being nocturnal could be such an advantage,
Yeah, it's a clever strategy.
It really is.
And then, you mentioned this semi-aquatic thing.
Yeah, that's the other half of it.
It's not just about swimming.
Right?
I mean, think about it. This shrew has dense fur, and it traps air.
Oh.
So it provides insulation.
And buoyancy as it hunts for, the little crustaceans and the aquatic insects in shallow water.
So it's like having a built-in wetsuit and a life preserver.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
Evolution is so cool.
It really is.
So it's perfectly adapted to this unique environment, hunting on land and in the water.
That's incredible.
It is.
So all of this really points to, its important role in the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I'm not entirely sure what a riverine ecosystem is.
So it's basically an ecosystem that's formed around a river or a stream.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the Sierra Leone River shrew, it plays a crucial role in keeping everything in balance. It's
Right.
a tiny furry regulator.
I love that. Okay.
By preying on all these insects and other invertebrates, it helps keep those populations in check, and that has ripple effects throughout the whole food web.
That's amazing how these small creatures can have such a big impact.
Absolutely.
So now that we kind of understand what makes this shrew so special, let's imagine a day in a life.
Okay.
What's it like for this little predator navigating its world? Paint me a picture.
Okay, so picture this, right? The sun sets over the West African landscape.
Okay.
The Sierra Leone River shrew, it emerges from its burrow, ready for a night of hunting,
Mm-hmm.
and it scurries along the riverbank, its sensitive whiskers twitching as it searches for, the faintest vibrations of insects in the undergrowth.
I can almost see it, like a shadow
Yeah.
moving through the darkness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, it dives into the shallows, using those webbed feet to paddle through the water.
Oh, right, it has webbed feet.
Yeah,
Wow, it's got it all.
it does.
So all this activity, it must take a lot of energy,
Oh, yeah.
which brings us to, the question of reproduction.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me that we actually don't know that much about their breeding habits.
It's a bit of a scientific mystery, yeah.
Yeah, we know the basics, right?
The basics, yep.
Short gestation periods, multiple offspring, rapid weaning.
Typical shrew stuff.
Right, typical shrew stuff.
Uh-huh.
But like the specifics.
Yeah.
Their mating rituals, nesting behavior, parental care.
Yeah, unknown.
It's like a big question mark.
It is.
Why is that? I mean, is it simply because they're nocturnal and just like super hard to observe?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Studying nocturnal animals in these dense habitats like rainforests.
Yeah.
It's incredibly challenging, right? The
Yeah.
terrain's tough.
Yeah.
And these shrews, they're like masters of hide and seek.
Oh, I bet.
And then, you also have to think about research funding.
Right, of course.
It's hard to come by for a specialized species like this.
Right.
So it's like we have so much to learn, but so few resources to actually study it.
It's a reminder of how much we still don't know about the natural world.
Absolutely.
But sadly, I think what we do know is that the Sierra Leone River shrew is facing some pretty serious threats.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true.
Habitat destruction, I mean, it's a major problem for so many species.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's hitting this shrew particularly hard.
Absolutely. As agriculture expands, forests are cleared for logging.
Right.
Urban areas grow.
Yeah.
And that shrew's already limited range is being squeezed from all sides.
Yes, it's like they're losing their homes.
They are.
And not only that, it's fragmenting the populations, right?
Absolutely.
Making them more vulnerable to disease and genetic bottlenecks and all these things.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah, it is.
So the loss of habitat is not just about losing trees, it's disrupting this entire delicate balance of the ecosystem.
It's about the whole web of life.
Yeah, and that's a scary thought.
It is.
Are there any efforts underway to protect these shrews and their habitat? I mean, it sounds kind of bleak.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully there are
Okay, good.
there are conservation organizations that are working to establish protected areas. They're promoting sustainable farming practices.
Right.
And they're educating local communities about, how important biodiversity is.
Okay, that's good to hear. At least there's something happening.
Yeah, there is.
So, what does all of this mean for our listener? Like, why should they care about the Sierra Leone River shrew?
Well, I think the shrew's story, it's a reminder that even the smallest, most seemingly insignificant creatures, they play these vital roles in the intricate web of life.
Mm-hmm.
And their fate is intertwined with our own.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
We're all connected.
In this big ecosystem.
And it also underscores how much we still need to learn
Oh, yeah.
about the natural world, right?
Absolutely.
And the importance of supporting research and conservation efforts.
Couldn't agree more.
It makes you wonder, what other secrets and wonders are hidden in those West African forests, just waiting to be discovered?
Oh, I'm sure there's so much more out there.
That's what makes it so exciting.
It really does. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Sierra Leone River shrew.
A fascinating little creature.
It really is.
Yeah.
Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.